on.
Is it okay? Let's check if it's live on YouTube.
Yeah, I
I'll
have it
check
on
with the
YouTube.
link. Is it live?
Seems like it's about to be. It looks like it's trying to come alive.
Okay, it's live. It's live. Yeah,
Is it?
we are live. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so we
Yes,
have
I can
46.
see it.
We are
Hey,
live.
yeah, it's live.
Okay, here we are.
We are live.
Okay, so we
Yes,
have
I can
46.
see it.
We are
Hey,
live.
yeah, it's live.
Okay, here we are.
We are live.
Okay,
Who
so
has the YouTube stream
we have 46.
on?
Mine's off. Mine's completely off.
Okay, so let's start, guys. All right. So how many people watching at the moment? We have
Chelsea, she's saying
39.
hi.
Hi, guys.
Carlos is also saying hi.
Carlos, what's up, buddy? I know him.
Carlos Hernandez. You speak Spanish with him, Sonny?
Hola, español.
Okay, let's get started. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining our live stream session today, our PTE Q&A live stream session. And in today's video, we also have, as you know, my name is Moni from PTE Magic. And we also have 3 other amazing guests who will help you to answer all your PTE related questions. So we have Michelle. Michelle, say, just introduce yourself a bit.
Hello, sure. I thought you were going to introduce yourself before. So my name is Michelle Helou. It's Helou, not Hello, as many people think it is. I'm the creator of the method Acing PTE to help everyone, as all of us, to help you guys pass on the PTE exam.
Mm-hmm. Then we have Minky from Young
Hi.
IELTS.
Yep. Hi. Yep. So as Moni said, my name's Minky. I know it's a bit of a unique name. It's actually a Korean cartoon character. It's like the equivalent of Sailor Moon. But please don't ask me why I got that name. It's actually a bit of a long story, but cut short, I ended up being Minky. So I'm actually running an offline college at the moment, and obviously we're teaching IELTS and PTE, and we're based in Sydney CBD. And we are focusing on the Korean community. So we have been exposed with the Korean people for, I think, the last about 15 to 20 years in the same location. So, yeah, that's who I am.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Minky. And lastly, we have the only guy in the room, Sonny.
Where my guys at? Well, again, my name is Sonny. The name tells you, Sonny English. That's what I am. That's what I do. I say stupid stuff on YouTube. Sometimes I teach PTE along with it. Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you, Sonny. Okay, guys, so in today's session, basically, we're going to answer the most frequently asked questions that you guys have related to PTE. And before we start, I just want you to keep in mind that all the advices that you get today are based on our personal experience teaching PTE. We personally, all of us already scored 90 PTE, and we've been teaching PTE for a few years now. And we've been helping a lot of students pass 79, 90, 65, 50. So we're just sharing the experience from our real cases. But anyways, without further ado, let's just start with the first question that we have here. And the first question is, does wearing a mask affect my speaking score, my PTE speaking score? So this question is actually related to the current situation that is happening right now, for the last, I think, almost 2 years now, unfortunately, that we have COVID-19. And this is something that we've been hearing a lot from students because, as you know, in many countries, especially in Australia, you have to wear a mask when you attend PTE exam. And I know in Philippines, you also have to wear a face shield. And but anyways, to answer the question, does it affect your PTE speaking score? I will say yes and no. It really depends on how you wear the mask how you set up your microphone. So I really recommend you guys to check out my microphone position video, where I show you how you can set up your microphone while wearing a mask. So I think most importantly, you have to check your microphone at the beginning of the test while wearing the mask. If you can't hear yourself properly, then just adjust your microphone. But anyways, like, what do you guys think, Sonny and Minky and Michelle? Have you had experience with the students who, failed the test because of the mask? Do you have something like that, or what do you guys think?
I've had people that said that they saw a decrease in the performance because they wore a mask, but I personally have not experienced any decrease in the score with or without a mask. But I think all of you are aware that sometimes the test centers will allow you to take the mask off, but I have done it with the mask on, and then the score stayed the same. But of course, mic position is definitely very important as well, because you can't just put the mic anywhere.
Exactly.
Also adjusting the volume before, because you have to test with the mask, adjust the volume, and then go for the test.
Yeah,
and I think also, related to sort of like what type of voice the student has, because I've had students who have always had like they're very articulate when they speak, and those people don't seem to have much of a problem in terms of getting their scores. They generally get the score that they always had. But those who have the really soft voice, who sort of like mumble from time to time, when they have that sort of voice, I think the mask does affect their score, only because obviously their voice is a bit more masked.
Exactly, that's true. Yeah. So we also have students who told us, like, I think a few months ago, that they were allowed to kind of like remove the mask during the exam room, but I don't think you can do that anymore, considering the fact that there are more cases, the COVID cases, and it's becoming like stricter in the exam room. So we also don't recommend that.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, did Moni?
Okay. The next question that we have, we're back, right? The next question we have for Michelle.
Will my accent affect my PTE score? So PTE exam was built to understand heaps and heaps of different accents. So no, as again, Moni just answered the same one, the last question as yes and no. It's again a two-part question. No, it won't affect your score purely because of your accent. However, if because of your accent, you speak the words in a way that it's not understandable by English speakers, then yes, 100% it will affect your score. But if you just have the accent and you're still understandable, no worries about it.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, and we also have also for those guys who are commenting in the comment section with your questions, we will answer all your questions later on, so don't worry about them. But anyways, the next question for Minky.
Yep. Okay, so the question I have is, why do some students have lower grammar scores even though they did not make many grammar mistakes in the writing section? Now, I've been asked these kinds of questions quite often, and I think most of the time it's because they fail to remember that the grammar score not only comes from the SWT and the essay, but it also comes from the SST. And I think from my experience with students, because they're so focused on using a template to finish, whatever their answer is going to be, they seem to lose the consistency of grammar. So like subject-verb agreements, or, including the S for the plurals. And the other thing that I find students often miss also is the fact that punctuation is also part of English. So obviously it does matter. So knowing where to put the commas accurately, and also finishing off a sentence with a full stop. So I think when I've worked with students in terms of their grammar scores, I found that without changing much, as long as I can get them to write consistent sentences for their SST answers, I generally see the grammar scores improve quite quickly. Yeah, so I think
Yes.
if people are asking about, why the grammar is low, even though their writing section is quite strong, I think the answer would be to actually have a look at how they're performing in the SST.
Yes.
What do you guys think?
I think I agree with you when you say that the grammar, it doesn't only come from writing. It actually also comes from your reading, fill in the blank section. So if the students don't do well in fill in the blanks, reading and writing, it also affects their grammar, even read paragraph.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. For Sonny, we have a question here.
Okay. This was asked. It says in SWT, if you use titles meaning like Doctor, Ms., or Mister, would you lose points? I'm not sure where you heard that information from, because that is still part of English, right? When you have the titles like that, Doctor, Ms., or Mister, that tells me you are about to write something specific, like a name. Names would definitely be part of the content that matters, right? If you're talking about writing and it's content, because a lot of people focus on writing with content. If you're writing with that, that must mean you are taking content from whatever you're reading from the passage. So I would not say you would lose points. Now, when I say that, of course, I don't work for PTE. I personally have never tried to purposely test writing names, but I do try to test to see what will get us the high points and the low points. And by writing specific details have gotten us higher points. So I would say, no, you don't lose points.
Okay.
I think that it's written. Sorry, I thought you were over.
Yeah.
So I think it's written on the text this way, exactly this way, the DR, the MR. I think it's no worries to just repeat it on the text, unless you're just taking that from nowhere and it's not in the content.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. The next question that we have here. I hope that we can no longer use an essay template. Is it true? Okay. So yeah, I think every year I get asked this question, especially from those who fail writing and who used essay but didn't get the score. And I think to answer this question, we have to look at, the people who got 90 or like above 79 in writing and still use the essay template. And I personally, went to the test room and tested and still used an essay template and still got 90. But as I say, of course, your writing doesn't only comes from essay. So, you cannot say 100% sure that it's true. But then again, I do think that we can still use an essay template. What about you guys? Like Sonny, what about your students?
For myself, yes, we do use templates for the essay writing. Now, I tell people, though, keep in mind, like, in my opinion, based on the experience that I have done on the tests, the essay, out of all of the tasks that affect writing, essay will give you the least amount of points. So if you didn't pass the writing, if you took the PT, you didn't pass writing, the essay template is probably your least concern, the least of your concern. You got to look elsewhere. You probably didn't get all of the points, but that's not your weakness.
Yeah, so don't worry too much about an essay. And by the way, did you guys know that out of 2 essays, you only get scored for 1 essay for the first one, and Pearson actually uses the second one just to collect your data, so they don't actually score your second essay. It's actually from Pearson. Okay. All right.
I didn't know that, and honestly, I don't ever even remember getting 2 essays yet. I know it's possible, but I've never gotten 2 essays on the test yet.
Yeah, I think that was so
terrible.
long ago. There was a time when they gave 2 essays, and it was actually quite frequent. But I think that trend finished like at least a good year ago.
Yeah, I think it's actually physically tiring to type 2 essays, like 600 words, and by the time you finish essay, you just don't have energy to do reading anymore.
Yeah, you're actually using the same template anyway, so you're literally writing out the same essay twice, basically.
And
what I tell my students.
Can I ask you a question because of what you just said? And I think people might be curious about that. You said writing 600 words. What is the ideal word count? What would you guys say is the ideal word count? Because that means
anything above 200.
Yeah.
I
200.
don't even.
I think it's still within the word limitation. So just follow the marking criteria, but like 200 to 300 words. So between 200 to 300. But I don't recall some students trying to write a lot, like 299 words or something. But just remember, the more you write, the more chance that you're going to make mistakes, especially in grammar and spelling. So it's better to write less, but not too less. Yeah.
I think above 205 words, you're the same. If you go all the way to 300 or just finish there, it's the same scoring, at least. Yeah. And I also wanted to add something else about the essay. On top of spending 20 minutes to do it on the exam, when you're practicing, it also takes a lot of your time. So it's not worth, it's better to invest those 20 minutes practicing some other things that will give you a lot more score than the actual essay. So it's also not a good question for you to keep on investing your time to practice.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the next question from Michelle.
Sure. So what is the best way to practice repeat sentence? So my theory with repeat sentence is this. We are not used to using our memory anymore. Like we don't even remember our partner's phone number. Like if someone asks me, I'll be like, okay, let me think. So memory, it's not at its best right now because everything is just saved on Google Chrome or your phone or wherever. So it's a matter of getting your memory used to memorizing things. So what I always tell my students is that they should give it like a 7 to 10 days practice, at least 15, 20 minutes every day. And then is where you start to see the improvement. That's when you start to see that you're actually, your mind is getting used to comprehending a sentence out of context and also memorizing it. So there's the two part, the listening part and the memorization part. And I also think it's really helpful if you just close your eyes when you're listening to the sentence. I think it helps a lot. So you can concentrate better on whatever you're listening instead of getting distracted by, I don't know, looking at the keyboard or the screen or the whatever it's there on the exam.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, guys, actually, let's actually try to answer some of the questions from the comment section. I'm just scrolling up here. We have Aravinda ready. So Minky can answer the next question. So
okay, I'm just looking for the question now.
So we have here the question on the screen that does it really matter with the order in write from dictation?
Okay. I generally found that missing words is actually obviously a big issue, but I also found that when people actually write the words in the correct order, then they do actually tend to get higher scores. So in terms of this question, I have always advised my students to, obviously try and remember all the words correctly in the right order. Obviously, if you're in a situation where you just have no idea about the order of things, but you can remember the word, then obviously including that word into your answer is better than just excluding everything. So I do encourage that you keep it in order, but at the end of the day, if you're in a situation where you have the words but you don't know the order, then obviously you've just got to crunch it in the best way. The other thing that I've also advised to students is that obviously the questions in the WFD actually are grammatically correct, right? The way you get them. So if you have words that, you have in your memory or you've written down, but you just can't remember the exact order of it, then I always tell my students to rely on their grammar to actually make the sentence make sense.
Yes.
That's how I've always approached it. Has anyone done something different with that?
No, I think in the score guide, it also mentioned that you need to put them in the correct order. So the order is quite important. So, okay, so we have another question here for Sonny. Oh, no, not this one. Sorry.
Like it's Sonny from India now?
Okay, this one here.
Oh, I have no idea about the names of the masks. I remember because one time I went to Brisbane to take the exam, and Brisbane's more strict than Sydney at the time, and they just handed out masks. If you go in without one, they're gonna give you one. I didn't ask them, what brand was this though? Like,
Yeah.
yo, is this Gucci? Is this Gucci? No,
Okay,
so I don't
so-
know the name brands. I'm pretty sure that is probably a surgical mask. So I guess
Yeah,
just
so-
I have no preference on that. Sorry, I'm not helpful with this question.
Just what
I
the
think
most
the
comfortable-
thinner the mask is, the less will affect your speaking. So if you get like a surgical mask, which is like super, I don't know, double or triple strand, that would be worse than just a regular thin mask.
Yeah. So
But I have
don't
no
worry
idea
too
what the
much.
KN95 is. So
Yeah.
Yeah, what I found was that the KN95 is actually the thicker. It's got the thicker material, and
so
the
that's what it
experience with the
was.
surgical mask. Because I actually used to work in the operating theaters, and so I'm sort of quite used to always having that mask on for like long periods of time, like 5-6 hours. And surgical masks are actually really thin. So if we're talking in the context
You
of
have
PT,
one. Minky, you
Yeah,
have one
oh,
behind
yeah, I
you.
do that. Yeah, see,
Ah.
one of these. See, it's part of the concept, the whole COVID thing. But yeah, I find that these are actually a lot thinner. So I actually tell my students, I know that wearing the KN95 is actually meant to be safer when you're actually traveling to the exam center. But then carry one of these in your bag, and then obviously you have to wear a mask in the test. So I tell them to actually wear this for the test, and then just wear whatever on the way back home, or But I think it's definitely thinner.
Okay. So I think for this question, it really depends on your purpose. So to pass PTE or to be safe. So if it's to be safe, obviously the stronger one. But okay, let's move on to the next one here. Who is next, by the way? Is it me? Is it?
I think it's you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Hi. While I'm speaking on my laptop, it's all right. But when I do speaking in the real PT exam, I listen to my recording in the introduction. I think it's the microphone check, right? I feel it's unclear and my voice seems so low. Suggestion. Okay. So I think for this question, it really I think I've encountered this question before. So it really depends on your laptop. So you're saying like the sound on your laptop is different from the sound on your what happened with Sonny just now? Okay, so yeah, very different from the sound that you have in the exam room. But in this case, I really recommend you to just speak a bit louder, or just see if is it the only time you did the test? Is it the first time, or is it like always like you've done a few times? I just need to see to find out how many times you've done the test, because if you have done the test like 4 or 5 times and it keep happening, then it's something related to your voice. But if it's just the first time, then I think it might be because of the microphone. Then we can just tell the invigilator to or you can even appeal. Like in some cases, they do, they do investigate and listen to the recording again. Has any of your students appeal?
Yeah, that's what's going to be my question. So the experience that I had was with students having technical issues with the exam. And even before leaving the exam room, they complain with someone and they escalate the situation. They don't get a result, and then they get a chance to get retested. For nothing, no cost. But when people had received their results and have complained about a technical issue, PT has done nothing about it. Have you guys had any experience, where they actually...
I don't think I've ever actually gotten any sort of like feedback from PT regarding any of these technical like issue related questions. So they wouldn't actually tell you sort of, what the outcome is like directly. They just say like there's no change and that's it, so you wouldn't really know whether that technical issue had actually affected your scores or not.
I personally have few students who got positive results for appeal, but they get a letter where it's highlighted that while investigating the speaking recording, they could hear some plosive sounds coming from the microphone. So, but then the result is not. They're not changing your score, but they're just giving you free exam. They're just giving you free exam. They admit that it's their fault, and then they're giving you another free exam. So that's the best thing. That's the best thing that you can get. Okay. At least you don't have to spend another $375 for the test, and 100%. You can do the test again. Yeah. Okay. So The next question from Michelle here.
I'm struggling with reading sections, and after a lot of practice, I still have difficulty to solve fill in the blanks. So I try to memorize collocation, but it's really difficult to memorize. Give me some advice. Whoa, if you're giving it a go and memorizing all the collocations there is in English, you're gonna have an amazing memory, because I think it's more about getting used to reading text and practicing the kind of collocations that come on the exam. So doing practice questions. That's the better way to go, because memorizing collocations, at least from my memory, it's not a possibility trying to memorize all the collocations. I think there are the ones that are most common, and yes, these ones you should definitely go for it, but it's more about practicing the question and reading the way the collocations are used within those sentences and those topics as well.
Yeah.
Have you guys tried memorizing collocations before?
Yeah, no, I've actually got a few students who actually are sort of categorized as like the poorer English sort of category. So when trying to teach them, it's actually very difficult, and I understand what they'd be going through when they're trying to understand why certain words fit into, the blanks. And when it comes to collocations, it just makes everything much worse. So when you're dealing with people who, are struggling with even the very basics of English, then teaching them collocations or trying to get them to keep it in mind is very difficult. So in those cases, what I've actually found to be more useful was getting them to go through, how there's like all the websites with the questions and whatnot. I actually get them to practice those sort of texts like a read aloud. And by doing that, they're verbalizing the actual collocations, and they have that sort of sound retention. So then when they go into the tests and they see, familiar words, if they try putting in each one, they find that one of them actually sounds right compared to the others. So by doing that, it helps them to sort of remember, certain words that are included in the collocations.
Okay, Minky, while you're there, the next question for you.
Okay, my problem with repeat sentence is that often I can't understand the phrase, but I forgot what I'm repeating. Okay, I think this sort of comes back to what I think Michelle was explaining before, how, memory for us these days is very difficult. And I was actually surprised when Michelle said that, because that is pretty much, what I say to all my students when I start my classes. I explain to them how we're so sort of, we're living in an automated society where everything is just already there. Now, in these situations, I try to build up that memory, basically, and just like a brain training exercise, I'd actually get my students to focus on listening to the first part of the sentence rather than the whole thing in one go. Because when you're listening to the front, you're sort of worried about the end, and then you listen to the end, and then you forget the front, and then you get all mixed up. But when I teach students to, practice hearing the front part and focusing on repeating the first part of the sentence correctly, then the body automatically starts to keep that memory in a certain order. And by doing that, it actually helps them to complete more of the sentence with the correct words than otherwise. And I think that's, for me, that's been the most effective way of actually remembering words, even though you don't actually understand the phrase correctly by meaning.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to approach repeat sentence, but memory does play a certain role in this, I guess. So you have to train your brain. Okay, the next question.
And I think again, if you do, sorry, just adding on that one. If you do understand just like the sound of it, just repeat the sound of it. Even if you don't know what it means, just go for it. I think that's the people, sometimes they look into a question, the repeat sentence, for example, and they're like, I have to understand and I have to repeat it. Yes, ultimately, that's what you have to do. But if you just understand a sound, which you're not sure what it is, just repeat that sound and go with the flow.
Yeah. Okay, Sonny.
The next question is, if you have a strong or loud voice.
Loud.
If you're
I think loud.
That's a good problem to have, right? You got that sexy voice right there, huh? But I've had issues with that. I've had issues where men. Like, so see, this is the thing with PTE. Like, oftentimes when we have like women with soft, high pitched voices, it doesn't get picked up well. And then I've also had with men, the voices are really deep. You know, I'm talking about that sexy voice, right? It doesn't get picked up well. So if your scores are getting affected, then it might not actually be you. We do need to take a listen to see like, how I want to know how deep is that voice, right? And you can see if it's picking it up by looking at the fluency and pronunciation. If you're speaking really well, you think you're performing well, and you're not getting any pronunciation, it might not be you. It might be your voice. Okay. Sorry, you have that good problem though.
PT doesn't want you guys to be sexy.
Yeah, it doesn't go well.
I have another questions, very like similar. Tell us about, I know it's a bit different. Tell us about the importance of pitch in the speaking test. I have a really low pitch and I feel it has been a problem. Okay, so I think I've covered this in my videos as well, that besides your pronunciation, your fluency and content, sometimes the pitch also affect your speaking. If you've been failing PT speaking many times, then you might need to look into your pitch. So for female, it cannot be too low, and for male, it cannot be too high. And no, the other way around. Yeah, for females cannot be too high. So high pitch means that very girly voice, you know, like a very soft girly voice. Like tell us about this. Tell us about the importance of pitch in this. So I actually encountered this with my Japanese students sometimes. Japanese or Korean. Korean also have that. Like they're very feminine and very cute. But then sometimes, you know, in PTE it's not really helpful. And then for guys, as Sonny gave you an example before, when guys have very low, like the like very low pitch, you know, like deep voice, it's also affecting your speaking. So I think you already know your problem. You know, you're aware of your problem, Daniel. You say that you're having low pitch. So I think the solution is to increase increase your pitch to make it a bit higher. And you can use different application or software to measure your pitch and to see, and you can check my videos again. You know, the pitch has to be around 150, 170 for male. So try to aim for that range, and you should be fine, I guess. But if you have any more issues, then you can also contact us. We can check your speaking recording, because it's really hard to tell when I have not checked your recording yet. Yeah, we need to. Okay. Okay, so many comments here. Here for Michelle from Aravinda.
If I make a spelling mistake in listening, fill in the blanks, does it affect my spelling score? I don't think you should be worried about your spelling score, because they matter the less, and what you really need is the score on listening and reading. And the issue with making a spelling mistake in fill in the blanks, listening fill in the blanks, is that you will just get 0 for that blank that you wrote just one tiny word, one tiny letter differently. That's it, you get a 0. So I wouldn't be worried about, does it affect my spelling score, but it affects a lot your listening score, because if you just make one spelling mistake, that's it. It's as if you had left the blank blank. No words in there.
Mm-hmm. The next question. Sorry, trying to answer all the questions because we have very limited time, guys. But there are a lot of questions, so we're just going to keep going with the questions. Yeah, so from Minky, from Paulina.
Okay, is there a limit in adding words in WFD? I don't think there's like a official limit, stated anywhere. But what I found with the scores is that when you're adding words that you're pretty much just guessing, and I think the moment you start hitting about 6 words extra, I think that's when you sort of start to get that the score deduction. So from experience, it's basically it felt like a threshold where if you're adding like anything between like 1 and 5 words, for example, then I don't see much of a score deduction. But when I see students adding more than 5 words and they're sort of going towards like the 6 and the 10 words, then I do see the scores falling. And I do actually have a few students who habitually just write any word they can think of under the sun. And anything that sounds the same, they'd write almost like a whole essay, just anything. And obviously, when that's happening, you really do see very poor performance, in terms of the listening. And you can pretty much just, deduce that it comes down to WFD. So coming back to the question, I would say that, I personally have told my students not to add more than 5 words when you're, making guesses.
Thanks, Minky. The next question for Sonny.
Last time my grammar was very low. Very low. Oh, they changed the AI.
Low.
And
spelling.
Yeah, that might be the issue right there, not the grammar. So there were issues a few months ago related to low grammar. Okay, and a few months ago, I started to experience that as well with low grammar, and I found out there was actually the technique that I had developed in the past where it stopped working. Okay. And it wasn't because of the AI. I don't believe it's because the AI. I think it was just based on specifically the technique I had, which is a specific template that I had developed. And then, somebody shared it on the internet, and then I think PTE flagged it. And then now I went back and readjusted the technique, and everything is back to normal. And when you're referring to grammar, I'm talking about from the summary writing, because that's where I have seen the biggest impact on the grammar score is from the summary writing. So that's when I adjusted the summary writing to where the techniques are working again, the grammar is back up. So I don't think it was the AI affecting everything. It was just maybe you're using something that somebody took from me and posted on YouTube, but that technique is not working anymore. But whatever else that people are teaching, I'm pretty sure is still working. Just mine wasn't working anymore.
So you mean they were using a template for some recent text?
Yeah.
Which affected their grammar.
Yeah.
What was the template? What was the template? Can you tell them so that we don't use the same template?
It's the concept where we have the summary already pre-written, and what we do is take a few nouns from the passage. Okay. I already kind of forgot. Noun can play an important role and be a major aspect that relates to modern society these days. So people must pay close attention to it. I think that was the template. It was on 20 or 30 words. You input 3 or 4 nouns, because this is a few months ago. I've already changed it, so I don't have. Luckily, I forgot the template now, right? But that was the template. It was shared on YouTube by some dumbass, and then PT flagged it, and then now it doesn't work anymore. But we have already adjusted it. We have adjusted the technique, and the grammar is back to normal. So it was only that part. Other people's technique, I'm pretty sure, is still working, because when I was doing my research, I went and looked at people's scores. Everyone else had normal grammar scores, including Moni's. They all had normal grammar scores, and it was only mine. So that's why I know it's my technique that was wrong. So I fixed it now, and it's back to normal. So I don't believe it was an AI thing. I think it was just because mine stopped working.
Yeah, I think Sonny was actually mentioning that a while back. Can't remember when it was. And I was looking more closely at my students, and all their scores seem to be relatively consistent. So whether that's consistently low or high, I actually didn't see much of a change at all, in that same time period. So I do agree. Maybe I don't know what it's about, but maybe with what Sonny was using at that point in time, maybe that was the issue rather than the AI.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, the next question here: do capitalization at the beginning and full stop at the end of sentences in reformutation matter in scoring? Okay, so the task is reformutation, and you need to rewrite a sentence. And the definition of sentence is, you begin with the capital letter and finish with the full stop. And maybe I don't know, maybe it won't affect your score, it won't reduce your score, but then at the end of the day, we should do the right thing, and then don't be lazy. It takes you a second to click shift and then write capital letter and put a full stop. So just keep that good habit to write a sentence with in proper way. But yeah, there's no certain 100% certain answer for this question, but then just write with capital letter and finish with full stop.
Okay. I think also
I see a question here which is asking the questions. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. That's all. I'll wait after.
I was gonna ask Moni to just select one of the questions that I saw here. That's what question should I study more to get 79 plus? But yeah, you answered this one, and then I'll go for the next one.
Okay, I just wanted to add to that because I think Claire is actually, I'm assuming, is one of my students. So just adding on to that, when you're approaching a test, you generally, I find that students who have a good habit of capitalizing the beginning of the sentence and including the correct punctuation for, all aspects of their writing are the ones who generally have higher, scores. Like you wouldn't, be using correct capitalization and full stops for every other section and then deliberately leave it out for the WFD. So I always tell everyone, and all my students should be doing this right now, to always use the correct English form of punctuation and grammar in all aspects of the test when it comes to writing anything.
Michelle, which question? Which question do you want?
So it's one that's asking, what question should I study more to get the 79 plus? It's one of the, I think, last three.
Can you find
it? That's from Pamela, isn't it?
Okay, so.
Yes. So I would say, I always call these my top four. So when I tell my students you have to study the top four every single day or every other day, I'm always referring to repeat sentence, read aloud, reading and writing fill in the blanks, and write from dictation. So these are the four, which is the most important questions on the PTE exam, and the ones that if you improve a little bit, it will take you further closer to your grade. So that's the four questions that I think you should always be studying. But again, these four don't make up for 79. So it's them, a lot on them, but also on the other questions as well. Always leaving for last all the multiple choices because they don't give you a lot of score. At least that's my experience.
Okay. For Minky.
Okay. All right. So my question is, does PT require academic English learning and practicing? Because I saw some people who attempted IELTS many times and never achieved 6 in writing and speaking.
Yeah, but they got 90.
Oh, okay. So they sent like 3 or 4 comments, 6, 7 comments.
so basically he's asking if does it require academic English learning like IELTS?
Okay. Are we speaking in terms of achieving like a 6, which is pretty much a 50 in the PTE? Because I find that depending on which score you're actually looking at getting at, if you're looking at a 50, I think the PTE tends to be a lot easier in terms of not requiring to learn so much English compared to the IELTS. But when you're reaching a 79, I feel that the amount of English ability when you're approaching either the PT or the IELTS is relatively similar. So your understanding of comprehending texts, for example, if you're looking at getting a 79, then I definitely do agree that you do need, a degree of English learning because it is about understanding how much detail that you're picking up from the text rather than just picking up the main points. But when you're looking at getting a 50 or 6.0, then, I find that because I'm teaching some IELTS classes as well, to get 6.0 in speaking, you do need a relatively stable or consistent level of grammar, for example. But when it comes to achieving a 50, which is equivalent to a 6.0 in the PTE test, you won't need such a high level of grammar or consistency, and you can still maintain a 50 by using templates. So I'm not sure how much that would answer Alex's question. But I think, it does depend on which score you are trying to achieve.
That's true. And then, to be honest, like those people who failed IELTS and then claim that they passed 90 PTE, I don't think that they passed PTE from the first time. So they normally will, study for a long period of time, but they just feel that it's easier. Then they spend a lot of time because for reading and for listening, you do need to have, academic English levels, like a good one. Because especially reading, because I personally find reading in PTE more difficult than compared to IELTS reading?
And I think on that note, I think listening is, if you're comparing the two tests, some people actually find that the listening for PTE is a lot easier because they don't necessarily need to find one particular answer as the correct answer. And you can still go by understanding, the contextual background, from the texts. But, in the IELTS test, you need to have that specific word to suffice as the correct answer. So I think for some people who have a good understanding of the general sort of message that's behind what's being said in the listening file, they find that approaching the PT tests has a lot more flexibility in terms of getting the correct answer compared to IELTS.
Yes. Okay, Sonny. Okay, we're going to answer, I think, one more question because we're running out of time. This question here from Abhishek Pandey.
Is it okay to only speak half of the sentence by maintaining fluency and repeat sentence to get 79? Well, that's what the PTE tells you, right? They tell you that the content is 50%. If you get 50% of the content, you can maintain 2 points in content. And you have to get 100% to get 3 points for the content. So if you look at, the only thing I look at from the PTE scoring or their textbook is the scoring, right? And there's people that get 79 when they only repeated some of the words correct, over 50, but not 100%. And when you say by maintaining fluency, I'm not sure what you mean, because what are you doing with the other half? Now, personally, if you just stop talking at that half, no, I don't think you're going to get 79. But if you're still maintaining fluency throughout the rest of the sentence where you don't know, so essentially what I think Minky and Michelle both already said, that you just make stuff up. If you are making the rest of the sentence up and you still maintain that fluency, yeah, I have done that myself just to test to see if it worked. So if you're saying half of the sentence correct, which is 50%, and then you are maintaining the fluency as well for the remaining parts of the sentence where you're just making stuff up, yes, you can. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
No, I totally agree. That's what I would say too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Just repeat the sound of it or whatever you think it was the word or the sound of the word.
Okay. Really sorry, guys. So should we answer one more question? I don't know which question. Okay, so is there any other questions that we should? Maybe just one more question from Yu Ting here. Could we write numbers like 80 or should we write 80? Thank you. Both are accepted, but my recommendation is from 1 to 10, you write in words, and then after 10, like from 11, then you write in numbers. But from 1 to 10, normally in academic English, it's like that.
Yep.
But yeah. Okay, thank you guys for joining us today for the live session. We had over 100 people, I think, throughout the whole live session, which is great. Very honored. And but I know that many questions have not been answered by us, but don't worry, we will organize another one soon. This is our first one, and we just want to see how it goes, and we're very happy to be, to collaborate and to help you guys answer your PTE related questions. And if there are any updates, we will definitely organize another one to let you guys know. But for the meantime, if you still have any other questions, we have our contact below the video. So just shoot out an email, or just visit our website to contact us on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll answer all your other questions. But yeah, do you guys have anything else to say, Michelle, Sonny, Minky?
Oh, good. Just thank you for us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely night, and see you guys on the next one.
Yeah. Thank you, guys, and good luck with your test. And also don't forget to, wear mask when you go out and stay safe. Most importantly, your health is still your number one priority. And for the meantime, 100%. Eat healthy food, drink more water, and train your brain. I'm sure you guys should be fine. And good luck with your test if you guys having tests next week or something. But yeah, thank you guys. Bye. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.